Good day. Today is Monday, October 10th, 2011. My name is AJ Goldsby, and I'm bringing you my third video in my series of chess videos. And this particular video is on the very famous game Paul Morphy versus the two allies. The two allies were two nobles, or blue bloods, if you will, that were playing black. They were consultation partners, and the black partners were the Count of Isouard and the Duke of Brunswick. This is a very famous game. It's extremely brilliant, and it's also one of my personal favorites. I also have my own webpage on Paul Morphy. Just briefly, I'm going to show you that. This is my webpage on this actual game, and there's my webpage on Paul Morphy. And if you pause that, you can probably zoom in and see the URL, the address, the web address at the top of the page. And the best way to find those is really go to Google and just type in chess, Paul Morphy, and Goldsby, and then hit enter, and you will get lots of matches. And we continue on with the game, pawn to king 4, pawn to king 4, or e4, e5. This was the way that most chess games started out in that particular time period, and it was by far the most popular opening at that time. White plays 2 knight f3. This is, of course, White's best second move. And basically, of course, there are a lot of playable options here. I mean, White could play a lot of different moves. Bishop c4 is popular and playable. Knight coming out might lead to the 4 knights. I mean, there's literally dozens, or maybe not dozens, but there are very many playable moves for White at this point. But this is the best move according to theory. It's the most aggressive. It attacks the king pawn and forces Black to respond. Basically, Black now has one of two choices. He either has to defend his king pawn somehow, or he has to basically counterattack White's king pawn, which is, of course, the Petrov defense, or some people call that the Russian system. Moving on with the game, Black plays 2d6. Today, this is known as the Philidor's defense. I'm not sure. Of course, it did not have that name, or may not have had that name back when this game was played in the 1850s. There wasn't really much theory known about this game back then, or much theory rather known about chess in general. But today, this is known as the Philidor's defense. GM Bent Larson made this opening very popular back in the 1960s and 1970s. In fact, I still have the Chess Digest pamphlet that says "Why Not the Philidor Defense" by, of course, Bent Larson. I think that it's just a guess. I really don't know for certain, but I think that Paul Morphy's opponents played this way simply because they were trying to surprise him or get him out of the book, or perhaps 2d6 was their favorite opening. Paul Morphy plays 3d4. This is an exclamation point. This is a very good move. And what's really amazing is that Paul Morphy always seemed to know exactly what was correct in an open game or an open position. If he had a weakness, it was in closed positions, if he had a weakness. And certainly he had a great affinity for the open game. He was one of the great geniuses of the open game. Many of the things that we know today about chess come from the study of Paul Morphy's games. And of course, White can play knight c3 there, or bishop c4 as a third move. Both of those moves are good, and they're playable, but this is, basically 2 knight f3 would be White's best. Now, Black's last move is he plays bishop g4, as you can see. And this is really a pin, probably premature. It's not a solid developing move. I'm just going to quickly run through here and show you what I've done some research here, and I've re-annotated this game and found more recent games. But basically, the Power Book here recommends that Black play 3 e takes d4, knight takes d4, knight f6, knight c3, bishop e7, bishop e2, a6, bishop e3, Black castles, White castles. And this would give White a advantage in space. And this is the game Popolchev versus Alita Indirkova. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but this is from the Moscow Open Championship in Russia, 1995. Another way for Black to play would have been 3 knight f6, counterattacking White's king pawn. And now it's normal or customary for White to play knight c3, knight bd7, bishop c4, bishop e7, Black castles, White castles, and White plays a4. And this is all from MCO, a line right out of one of the opening manuals. Now after c6, if Black pushes his queen bishop pawn one square, c6, de Fermian gives rook e1. However, both I've played in tournament games 8h3, and Fritz 12 actually prefers this move. And searching the database, I found the recent game Dmitry Yakovenko versus Badur Jobava, and this is from the FIDE World Cup just this year, 2011. and it's white ground out a very long game. It was 60 or 70 moves, and white won the game in a very long game. But nonetheless, you can find that move. That's a very recent game. Of course, continuing on with the game, after the pin, just back up here a little bit, black pinned here, and now white went d takes e5. Black took on f3. This is to avoid losing a pawn, because if he simply recaptures on e5, then white will simply trade queens and then take the pawn on e5, and black will be minus a pawn, and the computer engines show that that's pretty much a one game for white. So black takes on f3. But the problem with this move taking on f3 is that number one is he's giving up his light squared defender. He's also extended 2 tempi to swap off a key piece, and he's also forcing the white to bring out his queen as well. So there's a lot of bad things that happen because of bishop takes f3. White continues on, queen takes f3. There was no reason for him to wreck his pawn structure at this point. Black plays d takes e5, he's regaining his pawn, and now black plays bishop c4. And you can see here that this is a very good move. It's one move that does all four of the basic opening principles, controls the center, develops a piece, gets ready to possibly castle kingside. It's maintaining the material balance or really square control, and also white's threatening a checkmate in one, as you can see from this color annotation here. Now what's really interesting here about this last move is bishop c4 may not be white's best move. For many years it's been just assumed that that was white's best move, but I did several deep position analysis and also sliding and investigating this position with several engines, and what I've discovered is that white's best move, according to Fritz and several other engines, is probably actually the move 6 queen b3. And this is something that's fairly new, and I won't bore you with all the analysis because I actually analyzed this move for hours one evening. I didn't save my analysis, but basically Fritz seems to be of the opinion that black must immediately surrender his pawn, just simply give away his b pawn, and otherwise that black will suffer very dire consequences. But nonetheless, bishop c4, while a good move, is not necessarily the best move. It's quite possible that queen b3 would represent an improvement over this game. Continuing on, black plays knight f6, white plays queen b3. This is a surprising move, and I want to talk about this move just a little bit. Here white plays queen b3. Now all of your opening books and all of your instructional books will tell you the dogma that you never move a piece twice in the opening. It's a no-no, just don't do it. And however, here we have an exception to that general rule of thumb. Morphy really was a true genius of chess. He intuitively understood something that the Russians were to elaborate nearly 100 years later, or maybe even over 100 years later, was basically that double attacks are the core operation of every chess game, and they are what wins. Double attacks is what will win a chess game. And here, after the shocking queen shift, suddenly white is attacking f7 and b7 both at the same time. And here I've given you a little bit of color commentary there. You can see the arrows and stuff, which very clearly shows you all the many threats and the pieces and the squares that are being attacked. White continue on with the game. After white played his queen shift there, queen b3 over to the queen side, black continued on and played queen e7. Now this is actually a pretty good move. Basically his plan is very simply put that if white takes the pawn, queen b4, and the queens get exchanged. However, Morphy, now he wasn't interested in just winning a pawn, and this is what's really amazing about this game is even today the computers now at this point always choose the move bishop takes f7 check followed by queen takes b7. And also too, I want to show you a trap too here. There's also a trap that black could have fallen into here very quickly, and this trap is not real well known, and basically is that black could have tried queen d7, then after queen takes b7, queen c6, it looks like black's defended his rook in the corner and his queen's guarding the rook and everything's held, but then white plays bishop b5 and the bishop pins the queen against the king, and basically now of course black is lost. Anyway, back to this next move here is Morphy plays knight c3. This is an extremely brilliant move simply because he thumbs his nose at winning a pawn, and like I said, the chess engines even today go ahead and grab that pawn. White plays on black plays c6. Now there were several players and several annotators who condemned this move and tried to give possible improvements to that move, but it turns out using the chess engines 100% that is absolutely black's best move, and you can verify that with just about any chess engine I use Fritz 12, and then I use Houdini to check my analysis, but up and away, that's the best move. Continuing on with the game, white plays bishop g5, pinning the black knight. Black plays b5, just trying to kick the bishop. This is a fairly famous and well-known combination. And also, too, I want to finish this video in the required time, which is 15 minutes. And I will post my analysis on the my website and make it in a zip file, and you'll be able to download this for free, so you can spend as much time with this as you like. But anyway, white now plays knight takes b5. This was extremely brilliant by Morphy. He's sacrificing a piece, and when I first saw this game, I had no clue of what Morphy was trying to do at this point. Continuing on, black recaptures the piece. C takes b5. White plays bishop takes b5 check. Now knight bd7 is 100% forced. Black had absolutely no choice there. He had to defend his king. Walking his king out in the open would have lost by force. And I show that just briefly here. King d8, white castles queenside, king c7, and now rook d3, and all the chess engines, several different chess engines, all verify that black is completely lost. So after bishop b5 check there, knight bd7 was completely forced. Now white castles queenside. Many of my students choose castling kingside or some other move at this point, but castling queenside was by far the best move and the most energetic move, and it was really amazing that 150 years later, over 150 years later, that we can take a chess engine today and it verifies that just about all of Morphy's moves were the best, and this is something that really is always surprising to me. I mean, it just shows what a tremendous player he was and what a absolute chess genius he was. Black plays rook d8. He has to defend the rook on d7, and now white plays the sacrificial rook takes d7. Many of my students have come up with the idea here of possibly doubling rooks on the file here, but this is up and away the best move, and white wins by force. Black retakes here, and now white simply plays rook d1. And you can quite easily see here that now the threat is simply taking here and then taking on d7, and of course white's going to regain his material. Black plays queen e6. Just an amusing side note here very quickly is queen b4 was a complete turkey of a move. White plays bishop f6, and now if queen takes b3, expecting white to recapture on b3, but no, white does not do that. He plays the surprising bishop takes d7 checkmate, and black has been mated. So anyway, queen e6. Now here, when I first saw this game, I actually thought that white's plan here was to exchange the queens, take the knight, and regain the rook, and that will win for white. However, of course, Morphy has something just absolutely brilliant here. I'll just take a minute or two, and while I'm talking, you can think about this position. But just try to guess what the move here will be without looking at the screen. And of course, Morphy, what he did was very shocking. He played bishop takes d7 check. He doesn't try to regain the material. At this point, it almost looks as if Morphy has miscalculated, because now it's hard to see, unless you see the end result, it's hard to see the real purpose of the move 15 bishop takes d7 check. Anyway, black plays knight takes d7. White plays the shocking queen b8 check. Knight takes b8, and then rook d8 mate. Now we have the final position, which in my mind is both artistic and very beautiful. It's true economy of force. White has mated his opponent with his last two available pieces, and to do such a thing and to do it in only 17 moves, in my mind, is an unparalleled chess achievement. There aren't too many games, in my opinion, that are as quick, as short, as forceful and economical, and just absolutely as brilliant as this game, and also feature white, winning by mating with his last two pieces. Well, that pretty much does it for my video today. I want to thank you for watching, and be sure to visit my website and visit the webpage where you can download the free analysis. And just thank you very much, and you have a good day. And also, too, I wanted to ask that if you like my chess videos and would like to support it, please visit one of my webpage, www.ajschess.com, and go to my old GeoCity site and just click on the PayPal link, and you can make a donation there. Thank you.